Okay, so we are going to harvest and process and reset multiple worm bins today. This is an observational worm bin I made so that people can see inside of it. I have another bin next to me, out of view, and I'm going to put all of the undigested material inside of it. This bin isn't very old, and so a lot of the material is not fully decomposed, but it gave the worms a habitat and opportunity to reproduce so that I can split the worms that I have into more bins. And so I'm really just taking what's off the top here, and then I'm going to add in more materials to reset this bin. And that way, I've been able to start a completely separate bin, just from the worms in this bin. Now, it looks like it took a lot, but this bottom area is called the mother layer, or the verma layer, the vermisphere, or the worm habitat, okay? And this is the happy place where the worms lay eggs, where they reproduce. While the other material is breaking down, this is a nice, hospitable place for them to live. And I'm completely emptying out the bin. And then I'm going to add back in some of the materials that I have ready. And so this is just a newspaper. I'm only going to add one. I do this for the very bottom layer in combination with cardboard to act as a filter for the sediment. Don't need a lot. I'm going to do one more. Doesn't have to be perfect with composts. Really, it's impossible. With cardboard, I always rip against the grain because the worms love to lay their eggs inside of these grooves. It's a nice, safe little place where they can burrow in, and it accelerates the reproductive rate. Typically, I go for shards that are about 2 by 4 inches approximately. Once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And this is our bottom layer. We have cardboard and newspaper. Don't need a lot. Now I'm going to add in a small layer of leaves. I was lucky this year because I was able to collect a tremendous amount and stock up on them. They're definitely one of the top 3 ideal materials to feed to your worms. Now I'm going to put back in some of this material that didn't finish breaking down and put it on top of this denser material. And the reason is that everything will flow downwards, the liquid, the bacteria, and it will all inoculate and saturate and begin decomposing all of the denser material, like the paper and the cardboard and the lignin inside of the leaves. Alright, here is some of my harvested mother layer. If you look closely, you can see that there are worms inside of it right now. Quite a lot. Most of the worm population is so small you can't really see them. They're microscopic, the little baby worms that hatch. Now that I've put down my mother layer, I'm going to add a little bit of coffee. This coffee is partially decomposed. There is a mold that grows on it. I'm not sure if it's a fungi or a slime mold, but it decomposes sometimes before I even add it into the bin. And this is good because these microbes are eating the carbon, the lignin, the cellulose, the organic matter, and through that process they make the nutrients bioavailable to other organisms. This is a part of the composting process. And I want these microbes here. All right, next is our food. Tremendous amount of food waste scraps that I can use to feed to my worms. And this is an ideal substrate because it will allow them to reproduce more quickly since it's full of sugars, carbohydrates, and various minerals that they can use for reproduction. The nice thing is that these sugars are immediately available and they're very easy for the worms to break down, just like they are for all of the rest of the animal kingdom. And it's really nice because we can just make this little layer on top of the mother layer. Next, we're going to add in our grit. In the form of sand, and we don't need very much, just a very, very thin layer on the top. This will accelerate the speed at which the worms are able to digest their food. Now, I like to put on a layer on the top so that I can prevent flying insects from getting in and sort of create a little micro habitat where the worms can feel safe. Also, having a dry layer of leaves on the top will make it so that they're less likely to try to go upward out of the bin. But if your worms are happy and you provide them the habitat that they want, they won't leave. They won't jump out of your bin. And the next thing I'll add after this will be some ice across the top here so that it will slowly melt and hydrate all of the material inside of the bin.